think it's important for people who are hearing you talk to kind of try to picture this, right? Because it's tough to picture 30,000 years ago, or Palladians, or parallel Earths, or Atlantis, and all these things are happening. Can you tell us how you broke down these realms and how people can see them and make it easier for them to see?
Right. So everything I'm talking about is within duality, right? It's very chaotic here, and that's part of the fragmentation, the adding of chaos. But there's a higher level view, and the highest level view is from minds, like pure minds. So it's basically the Holy Spirit is like the awake realm. That's where people know the truth. And so eventually I'll completely believe and know the truth, and I'll merge and be one, like with the Holy Spirit. So that's a little different from Christianity.
Right.
And so there's three levels. There's the source level, God level, source of all being, the ground of all being. That's the highest level. That was the one Jesus was in touch with. That was my experience. I jumped up there. Then at the bottom, there's the world, and that's the prodigal son. He's suffering. He's in need. Doesn't have enough to eat, eating with the pigs, etc. So this middle level is the thing to talk about. Okay, that's the Holy Spirit. Okay, you got source at top, you've got Holy Spirit in the middle, and you've got the world. Jesus talked about that. The Holy Spirit in the middle is the city high on a hill, the city of light high on a hill that can't, be hidden. So Jesus is using metaphors. He's fanatical about source, or God, his Father, and then the world. So there's the kingdom, the world, and then the light is in the middle. Those are the three levels. And it's tri-level metaphysics. And I believe that tri-level metaphysics I believe that's accurate. I've been to all the levels. I've transitioned between them all. And I believe that's kind of what the world got wrong. They're more in bi-level metaphysics. The world down here and God here, and there's interaction between them. And that causes a lot of issues. You get like C.S. Lewis writing The Problem with Pain. How can a loving God cause all that? In a bi-level metaphysics, ontology, it's difficult. But if you make it tri-level and you have the Holy Spirit in between, then the stuff in the world, the suffering doesn't leak up to the top level. Okay, it's buffered. So the most important experience one can have is to be one with the Holy Spirit. It's not really being one with God. You can just, unless you become like a little child, you can't enter the kingdom. You have to be the child,
right?
The wise, infinitely wise child, Sophia, divine wisdom, and then you can merge up into source.
You like age, but you're reverting at the same time throughout all the lifetimes, because you're growing. You say you're gaining knowledge and information, but also trying to strip away the stubbornness of the material world and get back to the childlike innocence. A lot of artists talk about that. I think Picasso is one of them. They're trying to get back to the innocence. Although he was far from innocent as a human being, his art, he was trying to retain or get back to this total freedom. When you talk about those layers, where are these entities coming from? That, like, the things that abducted you, where do they fit into this?
So they're all in the world. All of that is the world. The middle level, I call it the universal higher mind, or Sophia is good, the Holy Spirit's good, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, like brilliant inspired description there in Corinthians 13. Everything within duality, within space-time, is at level 1 in the world. But there are different levels of readiness to go to the universal higher mind, the Holy Spirit.
And why are they there, you think? The things that abduct people, the things that experiment on us or scare us, what are they, in your opinion?
Yeah, the world is a symbolication of that's part of the fragmentation process. It's an indirection to the original infinite suffering of the prodigal son that thought he couldn't return.
Are these?
And so,
sorry, are they part of the test that God or the Creator puts there for us?
No, they don't.
Or are they something
don't
else?
Have anything to do with God? It's part of the fracturing of the prodigal son's mind. Once he'd stepped out of heaven and he believed he couldn't get back in, and that was infinite suffering because he's infinite mind. And all of this, all the craziness, is the fracturing of the mind, and it symbolicates out into suffering. So it's no different than eating with the pigs in the classical prodigal son story.
So you're saying it's like a consequence of suffering of the prodigal son, and that's correct, and that shatters reality, which then brings in. I think of them as like a lot of this stuff is kind of demonic, right? They're things traveling interdimensionally, or however you want to think about it, to who knows what. Like you said, there's infinite possibilities of why they are messing around with this realm.
Right. Yeah, definitely they're demons in the sense that it's kind of the lowest level. It's the most suffering level. And so there's a progression from horrible suffering to incredible unconditional love, right?
Right.
And that's the beginning of the journey, is the demonic activity. Yeah, it's definitely there. Experienced my experience with friends.
Do you attribute a lot of the evil that happens in this world to a lot of these demon type entities entering people's consciousness or manipulating reality?
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. But the way to think about it, it's kind of us doing it to ourselves because it originated in a unified frame of mind of like unworthy and infinite suffering, basically. So to return back to heaven, it's good to just view it as all symbolication. Just view this entire universe as all symbolication, dreams, everything. We're actually in a dream here, and me talking to you is symbolication. And I'm hoping I'm symbolicating the higher mind when I talk to you.
Of course. And so let's get to the higher mind too a little more, because I know we discussed it a bit earlier, but the higher mind is the thing we want to attain, that you're saying, right? That is what is with the source. That is heaven. This is a place of, you can explain it better than me, when you talk about communication and all this stuff. So what is that more specifically, and what do we get from that? Why is that the utmost?
Yeah, so I had an experience with the higher mind at 60 years old where I merged into it. And if you look at what Buddha said, I am awake, he meant he was that universal higher mind. He had become one with it. And when one says one is awake, that means one is completely outside the dream. And one sees the entirety of the dream, okay? There's no dream part, no symbolication that comes over to the higher mind. So the higher mind's in between. It's the Holy Spirit. It's Sophia, like infinite God, wisdom of God. And it's not God. God's up here. This is like a firewall to separate the two. So, the demons down here can't leak up into God's realm up there. So in the experience of being the universal higher mind, and I just transitioned to it just like normally. I'd been meditating on being this innocent child. But a friend was very much like that, and they just showed me how to do it. I did it for about 10 years. And so I kind of like finally believed that I could transition up into this completely innocent higher mind. That higher mind has one agenda, and this is key. It's looking down at all of duality, all the symbolication. It sees all the dreaming ones, like Shakespeare's globe. Everybody's in a dream and believing the world. And it sees all that, and it has one agenda: to wake you up. And it will send to you whatever you can take to wake you up. All inspiration, synchronicities, miracles, whatever you can handle, that higher mind will send to you. Okay, so communication, beautiful dreams, thoughts of everything's going to be okay. It symbolicates the completeness and the happiness of heaven. Fractures it, but it still remains the beautiful perfection of heaven as it comes down to us. And so that's what the higher mind is doing all the time. And that's its only job. And it just will wait there until we're all ready to wake up. But it's outside of time, so to it, everybody already awoke instantly.
So when we think of that higher mind place, is there an end to that? Because you say you saw the Big Bang.
Yes.
Yes. Does it then get destroyed? What happens?
No, the higher mind just waits around for everybody to wake up from their dream and to see the truths of themselves, that they're beautiful, created by Source, children of God. And once everybody believes that, they expand out. It's an expansion. The way back to heaven is expansion because it's such a huge experience. So I just simply expanded out. There were no more thoughts of separation, like me versus you,
Right.
All of those are conflict-based thoughts, right? I mean, why would I want to be separate from you? That there's something wrong with you, or there's something wrong with me, right?
Right.
So when the fragmentation part is disbelieved, like completely disbelieved, all through your psyche, your whole being, then you expand out to become one with the higher mind. And then you join with that mind and you help heal everybody else. So you can become a light being, you can jump back. Light being. I've done it one time. I just showed up for somebody that was considering suicide. And I was just like, if the only qualification is being unconditionally loving. I'm not perfect, but I could manage that.
So you're saying you showed up as a light being to someone who was about to take their life?
Yeah, and just showed up and just like unconditionally loved them and said, you're beautiful.
Something I've heard from people who had past lives, who say they've had past lives. Some people believe that the people with them in this life, perhaps family, were with them in other lives, but in variations. Do you find anything similar to that?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's part of the defragmentation process. It's good to have continuity, rather than keep fragmenting across these lifetimes. So yes, I've been with my family many times, my friends as well, probably you guys.
Interesting. We've done this before.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do it again. Well, maybe we won't do it unless I have you as a Palladian on my next podcast, in my next life, whatever that is. So it's you tell us about a lot of dark things when it comes to the suffering before you're talking about your soul being created, but it leads to a lot of hope in the way you describe the higher mind and this giant overflowing happiness. So I hope so, because this world seems rather dark lately. I don't know how it is for you in your experience of time, but this, as far as I know, is the only life I've had, and it seems pretty dark and chaotic. But you're telling us you've experienced something like the crucifixion, which is one of the most horrible moments of suffering in human history, and there's a lot. So where do you square what we're going through right now, where it seems like reality is falling apart, with our hopeful path to the universal higher mind?
Yeah, we're doing great. I mean, it seems crazy, but the only way to kind of like reintegrate and not have all these forces separating us is to face those forces, those dark forces, and just let them go. That's kind of why Jesus said, forgiveness is the way to solve the fragmentation. And via this forgiveness process, everybody's going to start waking up from the dream, and it's going to be a lot more coherent society. I've had a lifetime in 2700. It's a beautiful lifetime. By 2200, it will be very good on this planet. But we're going to go through some things in the next 50 years, some dark times.
Oh, great.
It's just part of the waking up process. But so you just have to look at the time scale, and people have to have enough lifetimes to kind of like reverse the fragmentation.
Do you think we
reintegrate?
Do you think? What do you think? Do you think we make it through an election? Do we have an election? Is there war on the horizon? How do you see these things?
Yeah, a lot of remote viewers have looked at that. It's all my remote viewer friends. We can't see. Things are very dynamic right now and changing. So I'm pretty hopeful. There were some events we saw that didn't happen, some nukes that were going to go off that didn't happen. I'm very hopeful. I think we're all doing a great job, and it's just painful, but very, very hopeful about the human race. I know it's going to completely turn around here. And
I love that.
We're just doing our job of processing and forgiving, letting go, and
learning.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, Carroll, that's a great way to end this, because I want people to have hope. I talk about a lot of dark stuff on this show, and a lot of sometimes wild stuff, and we have to have hope, because I still have hope regardless. Obviously, I have experienced a very different life, and I don't have access to things you're thinking and experiencing, but I still have hope, because I'm looking at history, and as dark as history has been cyclically in this timeline, it's cyclically been hopeful as well after periods of darkness. We just happen to be in a really dark time right now, and it's pretty wild. But I agree with you. I think we're going to figure a way out of it, and pray for better times. Where can people find you online? Where can they read your stuff?
Yeah, I'm on Medium, so just search me, Carroll.Vance, 2 R's, 2 L's. I'm also on Twitter, and I've got a wide range of experiences I post on there. But eventually, I'm writing a book on the Gospel of Thomas.
Awesome.
I've been working on it for 20 years, so that'll probably be another 5 years, but definitely Medium and Twitter.
I'm going to say you've been working on it for a few thousand years.
Yeah, I have.
30,000.
Technically. Well, Jesus,
that gives you an idea of how long it takes.
I love it.
Stuff out. I've been very confused.
I love it. This is great, and I'm looking forward to reading more from you online. I appreciate you sharing everything and taking the time to talk to us tonight.
Yeah, thank you. I love talking to you. Bless you guys.